In the last video, I explained Baumol'S theory of sales maximization. In this video, I am going to explain the other two theories, that is Williamson's model of managerial utility maximization, and the last theory is Maris' theory of sales maximization. These are the two theories which I am going to explain in this video. So first, let us see what you mean by Williamson's theory of sales maximization. So in this theory, actually, the Williamson's argues that managers have discretion in pursuing policies which maximize their own utility rather than attempting to maximize the profits which maximizes the utility of shareholders. That means in this theory also, like Baumol'S sales maximization theory, the managers will be having his own utility, and even the management is having, or the shareholders will be having the different utility. So here also the manager helps to attempt in maximizing the utility of the managers rather than maximization of profit, so where it maximizes the utility of the shareholders. So what are the assumptions of this Williamson's model is? So there are three assumptions, that is the imperfect competition, and the second assumption is separation of ownership and management, and a minimum profit is to be payable to the shareholders. If you won't pay at least the minimum profit to the shareholders, and the shareholders may ask for the profit and they object for the sales maximization. That's why a minimum profit will be payable for the shareholders. And here, what are the utility of the manager is? The managerial utility function includes such as variables as pay, security, power, status, prestige, professional excellence. Of these variables, only the first salary is measurable, whereas the profit acts as a constraint to this managerial behavior, in that the financial market and the shareholders requires a minimum profit to be paid out in the form of dividends. Otherwise, the job security of a manager is endangered. That means if shareholders won't get at least the minimum profit, and they may ask the manager to leave the company also. That is the main thing with respect to here. So here actually this is emphasized upon the fact that in modern business, ownership is separate from management, and the modern manager have discretionary powers to set the goals of the firm. It always happens. So he will be the whole and soul of the company, and he will be having all the powers to set the goal of the firms. And Williamson argues that manager have discretion in pursuing the policies which maximizes their own utility, and rather than attempting to maximize of profits which maximizes the utility of owner shareholder. And the profit as a constraint to the managerial behavior, in that the financial market and the shareholders require a minimum profit to be paid out in the form of dividends. Otherwise, the job security of the managers is in danger, as I told. So always managers apply the discretionary power to maximize their own utility with the constraint of maintaining at least the minimum profit in order to satisfy the shareholders. And the utility functions of manager, namely we denote it as in the UM, and the next thing is here the utility function of the manager, as I told, it is denoted as UM, and the next thing is like thus utility function of the manager may be written in the form of U equals F1 into S, M and ID, where S stands for staff expenditure including the managerial salaries, that is administrative and selling expenditure, and M is managerial emoluments, and ID is the discretionary investment. So here again we are going to calculate the actual profit. The actual profit is denoted by pi. So it is nothing but the profit is nothing but the revenue from the sales, that is R. So less the production cost and less the staff expenditure, that is pi is equal to R minus C minus S, that is pi. The actual profit equals the sales revenue from the sales minus the production cost minus the staff expenditure. So reported profit, that is pi R, is nothing but this is the profit reported to the tax authorities, right? So this is the actual profit less the managerial emoluments which are tax deductible. So it is represented by pi R equals pi minus M, that is pi is nothing but actual profit and M is nothing but a managerial emoluments. So you all know pi is nothing but R minus C minus S, and minus M. So that is the how we are going to calculate the reported profit, that is pi r. And the next one is minimum profit. So minimum profit actually it is represented by pi naught, and when actually the manager makes sure to have a minimum profit in order to satisfy the shareholders. For this, the reported profit must be least as high as the minimum profit requirement plans and the tax that must be paid to the government. So actually here always the pi r should be greater than or equal to pi naught plus t, where t, as you all know, the tax deductible which is given to the government, and the tax function is in the form of t is equal to t plus t into pi r, and where is the t is nothing but the marginal tax rate, and t bar is equal to lump sum tax. Okay, and what do you mean by discretionary investment? So it is nothing but the amount left from the reported profit after subtracting the minimum profit, that is pi naught, and the tax t. So it is given by discretionary investment, that is represented by id equals pi r minus pi naught minus t. As you all know, pi r is nothing but the actual profit minus the revenue deducted tax minus actual profit minus t, and discretionary profit is nothing but pi d, that is this is the amount of profit left after subtracting from the actual profit, that is pi, and the minimum profit requirement, that is pi naught, and the tax t. So it is given by pi d equals pi minus pi naught minus t. And let us explain this graph. So actually in the above graph, the managerial utility curve, that is U3, you can see is tangent to the discretionary profit DP curve at the point E. So the point E is the equilibrium point where manager get maximum utility with pi DE level of discretionary profit and SC level of staff expenditure, right? So that is the point which he suits in order to have at least the minimum profit and maximum staff expenditure. So at maximum profit F, the staff expenditure is S naught, which is less than SC, and pi DM level of discretionary profit, which is higher than pi DE but lower level of marginal utility, where the manager won't like this maximum profit. From the above this, we can infer that managers do prefer high staff expenditure than that of the profit maximizer, and managers also would like to sell at a lower price than that of the profit maximizers. Thus, this model primarily highlights the manager's utility while taking a business decision rather than the interest of other stakeholders. However, the profit cannot be entirely ignored in this model too. So the minimum level of profit that managers need to fulfill is fixed, and most importantly, there is a place for manager discretion in the investment decision that motivates the manager, and thus they act for the overall betterment of the business. So you can see here that the staff expenditure is taken in the x-axis and the discretionary profit is taken as the y-axis. So always a manager prefers to select where at the point of E, where the utility function is more for the discretionary profit is more for the manager compared to the stakeholder. So this is regarding your Williamson's theory. Hope you understood. Let us go with the criticisms of Williamson's theory. There are few criticisms of this theory. The first criticism is there is no empirical proof of such managerial behavior. There is no proof, only it is with respect to the theory. It is not practically proved that the manager always depends on his discretionary profit rather than the profit of the stakeholders. And the second one is managers may not have so much freedom. That means the management won't just rely on whatever the goals or the decisions the manager make, and even the management will have the decision making capacity. It depends on what the manager goal is, whether to go with the profit maximization or the sales maximization. And the third one is, say, trade union may demand more S, that means the sales. And the fourth one is the model does not discuss how price is determined and what basis the prices of the product has been determined, right? And the last one is interdependence in oligopoly is not discussed, because in the assumptions they have considered that they have with respect to the oligopoly market structure, but here what is the interdependence in the oligopoly is not yet discussed. So these are some of the criticisms of Williamson's theory, model of marginal utility maximization. So here also the main thing is the manager thinks of increasing the discretionary profit of him rather than increasing the profit of the shareholder. So this is regarding your Williamson's theory of managerial utility maximization. And the last theory, that is the third theory, is Maris hypothesis of maximization of growth rate, and this theory is based on the balanced growth maximization, and it is proposed that the owners aim at profits and market share, whereas the managers aim at better salary, job security and growth, which holds good as the Baumol'S theory. So working on this principle of segregation of managers from owners, Maris proposed that owners aims at profit, as I told, and the market share, whereas managers aims at better salary, job security and growth. So here actually two sets of goals can be achieved by balancing the balanced growth of the firm, that is G, which is dependent on the growth rate of the demand for the firm's product, that is GD, and the growth rate of the capital supplied to the firm, that is GE. Hence, growth rate of the firms is balanced when the demand for its product and the capital supplied to the firm grow at the same rate. And the next thing is, under this, according to Maris, there are two different utility functions for the manager and the owner of the firm. So the utility functions of the manager, told in the previous theory, it consists of the emolument, status, power, job security. On the other hand, utility functions of the owner includes the profit, capital, output, market share and etc. So the manager of the firm aims at maximizing his utility, and his utility always depends on the growth of the rate of growth of the firm. Through promoting the growth of the firm is the main aim of the manager, yet he is also motivated by his job security, and the manager's job security depends upon the satisfaction of the shareholders. So profit plays a very important role, who are concerned to keep the firm's share prices and dividends as high as possible. And what are the assumptions of this Maris theory is, the first assumption is it assumes a given price structure and the production costs are given. We already know what is the cost of production, and there is no oligopolistic interdependence, and the factor prices are all constant, and the firms are assumed to grow through diversification, and all major variables such as profit, sale, cost are assumed to increase at the same rate, right? In the same proportion, all this profit, sales, cost are assumed to be increase at the same rate. So this is regarding the assumption. Let us go with the theory. So given these assumptions, the objective of the firm is to maximize its balanced growth rate, that is G, and the G itself depends on the two factors. The first thing is the rate of growth of dependent of the firm product, GD, and the second is rate of growth of capital supplied, that is G. So thus we always say that G is equal to GD is equal to GS, that is the growth rate is always equal to the demand for the firm's product, and it is also equal to the growth of capital supply. So that is regarding the theory. So according to this theory, a higher level of profit provides more funds directly for reinvestment, and it also allows more funds to be raised on the capital markets, and therefore it allows a higher rate of growth to be funded. This gives a direct and positive relationship between the profits and the growth, and this is can be shown in the figure. For the equilibrium of the firms, the growth demand and growth supply relationship must be satisfied, and this is achieved when two curves, that is GD and GS, intersect at the point where the growth profits combination give the optimum solution. Suppose in the figure GS2 curve intersects GD curve at a point M where profits are maximized. This point does not provide an optimum solution because the managers desire more growth than it's consistent with long run profit maximization. The extent to which they can increase the growth rate beyond the point M depends upon their desire for job security. So the job security is threatened if the shareholders feel that the share price and the dividends are falling and there is a threat of takeover by other firms. This will affect the growth rate of the capital supply, that is years. Thus, it is the financial constraint which sets a limit to the growth of the firm on the supply side. And a firm may grow in the size through the creation of new products which create a new demand, and Maris call it differentiated diversification. And the introduction of new product depends on the rate of diversification, that is advertisement expenses, R&D and all. So for the equilibrium of the firm, the growth demand and the growth supply relationship should be satisfied. This can be achieved by the two curves, and this point does not provide the optimum solution. So this is regarding the Maris theory. And the last point in the Maris theory is about the criticisms. So they have made assumptions, and there are few criticisms of Maris theory also. The first criticism is Maris assumes a given price structure for the firms, and therefore it does not explain how price of the product are determined in the market. So this is the serious weakness of the model, about based on the quality of the product, based on the competition, or so they have not expressed how the price of the product has been determined. And the other defect of this model is that it ignores the problem of oligopolistic, that is interdependence of the firms is non-collusive market. So that is the second as a criticism. And this model also does not analyze interdependence created by non-price competition. What is the non-price competition created in the market? And the model assumes that firms can grow continuously by creating new product, and this is unrealistic because if no firms can sell anything to the consumers, after all consumers have the preference of a certain brands which also change when new product enters to the market. That means through the diversification, it's not proven that the company may earn the profit, it may go on the customer preference. And Maris model is only basically applicable to those firms which produce consumer goods, and this model is not appropriate for analyzing the behavior of manufacturer, businesses or the traders. So this is regarding the Maris theory, Maris hypothesis of maximization of growth rate. So again here the manager plays a very important role. He concentrates always on the sales maximization. He also decides that if the company earns more profit, they can put on the R&D. Again if you want to spend on the R&D, again it may leads to maximization of sales for the new product, and the same way the manager is going to get the profit by through the expenditure on R&D and all. So these are some of the, you can say, regarding the theories of your managerial economics. Hope you understood all the concepts. So the concepts which have been dealt till now are like, what do you mean by economics, what do you mean by what are the advantages of economics, meaning, that means the meaning, and what are the what you mean by managerial economics, what is microeconomics, macroeconomics and difference between them, and what you mean by managerial economics, and what are the nature of managerial economics, what is the scope of managerial economics, and what is the significance of managerial economics, and what are the uses of managerial economics. As you all know, the managerial economics applies to the business in decisions in relation to the customers, including the pricing, advertising, suppliers, competitors. And the old economy and new economy is essentially the same way you expect from two distinctive aspects, right? It also helps in network effects in the demand and the scale and scope economics and both global and local markets. And the next topic what we explained is the roles and responsibilities of managerial economics, and what you mean by firm and the industry, what is the objective of the firm, and the forms of ownership. There are different forms of ownership you studied. And the last topic was the theories, that is Baumol'S theory and Maris hypothesis of maximization of growth rate, and the last one is Williamson's model of managerial utility maximization. So all these theories concentrates on the managerial and how to increase the profit of the manager, sales maximization. That means how it will be helpful to increase the utility of the manager rather than the utility of the shareholders. Only in the Maris theory they concentrate concentrate on increasing even the utility of the shareholders, because once the shareholders utility increases, they may put all the money in the R&D and diversification of the product or diversification of the company, where again they may this through R&D, again they may invest based on the sales maximization. So only this theory concentrated on both the shareholders and to increase the utility of shareholders and the manager. So these are the topics which I been covered in the first module, that is introduction to economics. Hope you all understood. If you have any doubts regarding this, now we will be discussed in the next class. So these topics and these theories are very important for the exam point of view, and these theories are very easy. Hope you understood. Thank you.